Will you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, July 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. I just have a couple of comments. Our next meeting is in 3 weeks. We have a little bit of a gap, so the next meeting is going to be August 12th. So update your calendar if it's not already. We also have on our agenda today a review of the audit report. The auditor was not available today, so we are not going to be discussing the audit report tonight. The select board does want to acknowledge the passing of an employee. Stephen Souza was our cemetery foreman. He worked the cemetery department for about 10 years. He passed away unexpectedly on Friday, July 12th. He was the husband of Melanie Souza. He was the foreman of the Town of Westport Cemetery Division. He also took care of several properties in Westport. He was a union carpenter for many years. He was a jack of all trades. Stephen was a car enthusiast who loved his 1973 Camaro, which he rebuilt. He enjoyed camping, fishing, playing horseshoe tournaments, and was also a coach for his son's team in the Westport Little League. Besides his wife of 32 years, he's survived by his 2 children, his granddaughter, his sister, and his mother-in-law. So our condolences to the Souza family. Does anybody want to say anything about Stephen?
Madam Chair, I did know him only through work when I was the chair, and he was a gentleman and very helpful. It's very sad he's passed on.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of really good things about the work he did at the cemetery department. Okay, anything else? Any other acknowledgements or recognitions before we move on? We do not have any public hearings tonight, so we're going to licenses and permits. The first one on the agenda is a request from A Wish Come True, Inc. for a one-day wine and malt license for their annual fundraiser to be held Saturday, September 7 and Sunday, September 8 from 12 to 7 at the Holy Ghost Club, 171 Sodom Road. We do have a favorable police report.
I'll move it with the recommendations.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Buzzards Bay Brewing, Inc. for a one-day wine malt license for Shell Stock to be held on Saturday, August 17 from 2:45 to 7:30 at the Westport Fairgrounds, 200 Pine Hill Road.
Move approval.
Yep, second.
Is there a motion, a second, to approve? Any discussion?
We better approve it. They spent a lot of money on bananas.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, everybody, go get your ticket to Shell Stock. It's a great time. Go on, find it. I don't even know how you get a ticket. I got it online. Look at Google it. We have a request to approve the following road use applications. The Narragansett Bay Wheelman. I'm going to read these. If anybody has a hold on any of them, just let me know. Narragansett Bay Wheelman, September 8. I'm sorry? Yes, you are. Do you want to hold that one?
Yes, please.
The Max Performance, September 15. Buzzards Bay Triathlon. Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, September 21. Rain date, September 22. Buzzards Bay Coalition, October 6th. This is a bicycle ride. And AGS HVAC Services LLC, October 5th, motorcycle run to benefit the Westport Food Pantry. All right, so all except the Narragansett Bay Wheelmen. I'll entertain a motion.
We have police recommendations on them?
Yeah, Paul is.
On all of them?
I just want to explain a little bit about this. They're all in a clump because they've been in the pipeline for a while, but with the condition of East Beach Road, the police weren't able to approve them. So I just got actually all of his approvals today on these. They are all positive with the recommendations. Most of them are yearly events. The Narragansett Bay Women, it's a new event to town. I don't think it's a new event. I think they came to us for permission. It seems like they used to ride through town anyway, and then they found out they should come for permission. So Sergeant Mello is still working on that one. He's got a call out to them. It's just that they are saying a lot of riders, and right now they only have like 50, so he's not overly concerned with it, but he just asked if we hold off on this one now until the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll hold on that one so the police
Yes.
have a time to review, but the other ones have
Unless you
favorable.
want to approve it pending
Pending.
police recommendation.
I think this is the gentleman that keeps sending email and concerns. I think I might have forwarded it
Yeah.
to you. Somebody didn't think he had to go through us. So, and we've had a lot of issues in the past. That's why we asked him to
He's
get.
from the, your bike.
Yeah, I know. He's very South Coast Bikeway, I think it is. He's pretty active. But anyways, we're not touching that one now anyways.
All right.
So I'll move the other subject to the recommendations of the police department.
So
Second.
So the four, subject police recommendation, all in
Yep.
favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. And then the Narragansett Bay, we're not declining it, we're just gonna talk
Right,
about it
need more
next-
info.
next meeting. But as long as we get a favorable police report, he should feel fine, that he's gonna get it. D, we have a request from Big Tree Catering for a one-day wine and malt license for a wedding on Saturday, September 28th at 524 River Road. And this one also has favorable police recommendation.
I'll move with the recommendations.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, we have some more appointments and resignations. Some of these are new, the bike and walking path, and then some of them we did get from the finance committee and the planning board chairs. They're recommended, so those were held last time. So I'm just gonna read them all. If you wanna hold on any of them, just say hold. Bike and Walking Path Committee, Steve Willett, Keith McDonald, Betty Ann Lowe, and Gail Rodricks. Betty Ann Lowe, Gail Rodricks. Historic Commission, Ward Mooney and Katrina Strozek. Tax Incentive Program, Zach LeBrow is the FinCom representative. Internet Advisory Committee, Duncan Law for Finance Committee. Infrastructure Oversight Committee, Duncan Law for Finance Committee. Capital Improvement Planning Committee, Al Lees from the Finance Committee. Infrastructure Oversight Committee, Manny Soers for the Planning Board and Bob Daler for the Planning Board. And Economic Development Task Force, Manny Soers for the Planning Board.
I'll move them all.
Second, Madam
Is there
Chair.
any discussion?
They have all been run by the committees now, correct? They've all,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that was the concern of the past.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request to accept the resignation of dispatcher Raquel Rodricks and her request to stay on as community service officer, part-time dispatcher. So Jim, you want to,
Yeah, this is recommended by the chief, Chief Dunn. She is resigning from the dispatcher position, and she does want to stay involved with the police department.
Go through the chair. Can we find, are you doing any kind of exit interview, or can the chief update you if we're losing them? Because I know the last one because of money.
It's salary.
Yeah,
I don't know if
another
this one is specific to salary, but the
Just
chief
as-
has brought that to my attention a few times.
Yeah, because I
All the
know
dispatches.
at least one in the past was because of salary too, just so the public knows what we're against when we're doing contracts.
right, any, did we have a motion?
I think, if I didn't, I'll move it now. Move it.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from John Resendes, the Westport Community TV Director, to appoint David Backdian as production assistant. Jim?
Yes, I would recommend approval. This was, the position was created at the last meeting of the select board. I know John has interviewed David, and he's excited to have him be a part of the team over there and work. I would recommend approval. This would be a part-time position, less than 19 hours per week.
And he also ran it by the cable committee. I'll move him.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. John, you got your guy? So for action items, so we have Rita Lane, also known as the Rita Lane Extension, to approve the order of taking to complete the acceptance of Rita Lane Extension as a public way. This was the completed subdivision off of White Oak Run. The authorization for acceptance was approved at town meeting. Anything to add here, Jim?
The planning board has signed off on it. Again, it was approved at town meeting, the authorization. The abutters have been notified of this meeting tonight. I don't know if anybody's here from Leader Lane Extension, if they have any questions.
There you go.
But it's a standard procedure. This is a procedure we followed over the years. Once the subdivision is done, the road is completed, goes to town meeting, and eventually gets accepted. So I would recommend approval of the order.
Does anyone on the board have any?
Jim, has White Oak Run been accepted yet?
White Oak Run is not, we do not have an official acceptance of it.
Is anybody working on getting that taken care of?
I can check with the highway department to see if
Does that create an issue when the main road isn't approved, but the side road is?
Well, we did check with town council. White Oak Run has been used by the public. It's
Right.
been repaired by the public. It was paved by the public. I don't know if Dartmouth did it or Westport because it splits the line. Town council said that, when streets are used in that manner and maintained in that manner, not officially accepted, but they're considered ways that the public can use. So
All right, the planning board signed off on it?
they did.
Yes, okay. Did anybody move it yet? I'll move it.
Second.
Did you have any comment? No, I just wanted to see. Okay. All right, so we have a motion accepted to approve the order of taking for the Rita Lane as a public way. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
And I'll follow up with Highway to see if we can get that
you.
official layout done
Good night.
and accepted.
For B, we have a request to approve the memorandum of agreement with the Highway Department, ASME Council 93, Local 1701. Jim?
Sorry. I'll make sure we get this signed. Do you have an order? Do you have a signed, unsigned order over there in your packet, or should I pass this one around? I'll pass this one around.
Mylar, read them.
So negotiations have been going on with the Highway Department just for 2 months now, maybe 3 months. We've reached a tentative agreement with the Highway Department. They have signed off on it. The memorandum of agreement is in your package. It's essentially a 3% cost of living raise each year for FY '25, '26, '27. There is an increase in 2 of the steps, and then some relatively minor adjustments, cell phone from $30 to $45. There was a clothing allowance that went from $550 to $575. We changed some wording on they had one section where they could actually get a paper check for their longevity. So we were able to change that in the contract, so they will get a direct deposit, which helps the treasurer's office. And then we had on the grievances that it would go through the town administrator first before it goes to the select board. Those are the main highlights. I don't know if you had anything else on that.
Got it?
I do want to point out to the public, when we don't talk about these too much, these are discussed pretty heavily in executive session while the negotiations are in progress, so that's why we probably saw it before. All right, is there any discussion? Did we have a motion?
No, not yet.
You want to move it?
I'll move it.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the MOA with the Highway Department. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Review and approval of the East Beach cobble policy. You want to give us an update here? Tell us what this is about.
So the policy in your packet has been reviewed by town council. It's been forwarded to the East Beach Association. They're in favor of it. This would be an interim policy until beach nourishment study or plan could be done. The planning office has sought out a grant to fund that study. This would be interim until that is complete. We did have one comment from the conservation agent. He'd like to see the material that's deposited. So this is related to after storms. After storms on East Beach, the cobble is pushed onto the roadways. The property owners are looking for us to push that cobble back to the south side of the road so that they can replenish their lots after the storm. This policy is set up to do that. The only comment the CC agent, conservation agent had was he'd like to see it spread on both sides. I think because this is an interim policy, for short term, I think we can push it to the south side of the property. Anything that goes to the north is kind of extending on the north side anyway. We've been back and forth on this for probably 3-4 months now. I would recommend approval. I think the wording is pretty good. It identifies the concerns that the East Beach Association has. It gives the Highway Department a little bit of flexibility if they need to use some of that material for securing the road at either the south, the east, or the west end. So it's a good policy, I think, for both the town and the residents.
Jim, do we have an order of conditions on the beach property where they could fix that? Because, I went down there this weekend and saw, we got it paved and the it's the town property, we really can't even access it right now.
So there's a general order of condition on the roads that they have with the Conservation Commission. I'd have to check with them to get more detail on it, but they have a order of conditions that allows them to work on town roads for general maintenance and repairs. The beaches, I'm not sure.
But, well, I think it's actually in the layout of the road, but it looks like, it'd be pretty simple for highway to go in there and straighten it out, and the people with the beach stickers could
Is this
utilize-
level the piles, is that?
Yeah, so like.
I can check with Chris and see if they can do that.
I don't know, just looking at it, the way it's stockpiled now, the next storm we get, it's kind of like up. You're gonna blow right back on the road again. I think if they pushed it back out and maybe sloped it, rolled it, and where cars could drive on it, it's less likely to just get blown right back in the road.
We'll check with Highway and Conservation Agency if they can do that. I think the piping plover season is just about over, so.
Oh, it looked like, you get the piece fixed, it looked good. Sure it's stopping a lot of calls.
Yeah. Speeding now, speeding.
Speeding. People slow down on every road and every
Exactly.
place.
Is there a date that ends, or is it just
It's no day when it ends, no.
open-ended interim?
Yes.
All right, I'll move it.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the interim East Beach cobble policy. Is there any discussion? Did you want to say anything? We're about to approve the, okay.
No.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. There you go. You just walk in the room
Yeah,
and
express
Didn't have to say
plan.
anything.
Oh, yeah.
make up for all those other times you spent hours here.
Yeah.
4D, request to approve the memorandum of agreement with Westport Police Association.
So this is fairly similar to the Highway Department agreement. There's a 3% cost of living increase for FY '25, '26, and '27. And then there's a shift differential increase of 1% in the second and third years. So that wouldn't impact the budget this year, which is a plus for us. The shift differential is probably about 50% of a COLA increase. So I think that's good. We had a limited duty section that was added, that was requested by the chief of police. The union agreed to that. And we also had residency requirement. This was another request by the chief because he has been having trouble hiring officers locally. There's just not a lot out there, and it sounds like there's some experienced officers from surrounding towns that would like to work for the town of Westport. So this would allow him to fill some of the positions that he does not have filled right now. I think he has four to six vacancies right now in the police department. It also allows him to fill it with police officers that have already gone through the training. If he brings somebody new here in town, they go, we're putting them through training, and that's, that could be a 6-month process by the start to finish. The only other couple of other minor things, they had the vacation day for Juneteenth. And then for the police officers that have experience that come in from other towns, after the first 6 months, they would be granted 5 days vacation. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think, I was going to highlight the vacation one. And the residency one, I just want to assure people, the chief of police putting together the policy for take-home vehicles. The take-home vehicles will not go home with officers who are leaving Westport. The vehicles will only be issued to people who are in Westport. And that's largely what we talked about at the last executive session, too.
That everything?
Yeah.
I'll move it.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the memorandum of agreement with the Westport Police Association. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. 4E, request to approve changes to special legislation authorizing the issuance of an all-alcohol beverage liquor license not to be drunk on the premises package store to Gulf Resources, 634 American Legion Highway, Westport, Mass. You want to explain this one, Jim?
Yeah, so this was authorized at town meeting in May. The select board sent the request up to the senator's office as well as the representative's office. They have filed the bill. As they were reviewing the wording, they wanted to modify it slightly. So if this license could be transferred now, but it would have to be transferred to the same property. It could not be removed. You couldn't transfer another property here in town. And that's pretty much it. They just wanted the select board to reaffirm that wording. And they would get it through the process.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move it.
Second, Madam Chair.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. As mentioned earlier, the auditor is not available tonight, so we'll move the audit report to a different night. Anything you want to say of that before we pass over that one, Dick?
No, the audit report is traditional that we do this. The audit committee has already reviewed that with Anthony Roselli of Roselli and Associates, the town auditor, and he's going to probably give us a good report, but it really is to give us the opportunity to ask any questions. So there's no urgency to it, and we're not under any pressure.
Okay, thank you. So 5B, we have correspondence from the school committee regarding the use of the old high school. And I'm going to invite Evan Gendro to come sit up here with us, chair of the school committee. Jim, you want to give us a little bit of background on this?
Yeah, so the school department notified the town last week that they will be officially, we've kind of discussed it over the last month or so, that they will be moving out of the building at the end of August. This is the old high school for budgetary reasons and also to help them with some staffing duplication in some of the other schools. They had, I just put a quick little thing together here as far as where we are. I think the main concern is the insurance. Once the insurance company determines that the building is not,
Switched page.
once the insurance company determines that the building is not occupied by more than 31%, they consider it vacant. And I guess the insurance rates to insure that building can go up quite a bit. We do not have a final figure. Right now, we're paying about $86,000 this year. With it being occupied, with it being unoccupied, he indicated it could go up as high as $200,000, but he did not guarantee that number one way or the other. But he seemed to think that that would be at the higher end if he could insure it. They've had some trouble in at least one other community on a community abutting the water that they could not insure the school that was vacant. So we sent the information to them last week of what the potential uses are. I think that's in your packet. You know, we suggested that, you know, you're going to be used by 400 to 500 kids for basketball programs. School department's going to be using it for their maintenance. They also have IT there and some storage. They may have some enrichment type classes for the teachers. That wasn't determined officially yet, but that's a possibility. We went over the use of the outside of the school with the fields, that the fields will be used not only by the school department in the spring and the fall, but also by some of the town leagues. They still seem to think that it would not meet the requirements of being occupied. And as we got into further discussions with the insurance company, he questioned whether or not it would be considered occupied even as it is now. So I think we're in that position. As far as costs go, that could be a potential, you know, roughly $100,000 difference. And right now, the school department picks up $50,000 of costs associated with utilities in the building, mainly heating and electrical, that they're looking to use that $50,000 for other programs in the school. So the difference would be roughly, you know, 114 plus the 50, $164,000. I'm hoping that would be at the high end. We did budget an additional $25,000 on the town side for their expenses. And we have two warrant articles from FY23 and FY24. FY23, we have a balance of $135, and FY24, we haven't touched yet, so we have a balance of $100,000. So if we had to, this year, we could probably get through with those warrant articles as a backup. Next year will be a problem. This year's kind of a problem too, but we do have some money that it was previously approved for expenses at the school.
Well, next year, we could plan for it in the budget next year, right? Or we'll be further along in the long-term building. Okay. I don't know if I should have started with you, but
No,
do you have anything you want to add or include or?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Jim hit a lot of the points that I would mention. I think the original intent of the committee was, you know, going into that was to look at cost savings for, this would result in our budget roughly $90,000, and then allow us to support staff in our other buildings. I will note that I know the insurance has been a concern in the increase, and the committee met in the middle of last week to discuss a potential alternative option if that cost comes in on the higher end, where we could maintain a presence in the building. And, our business office can work with us to find other places in our budget to cut. So the committee did meet on Wednesday to discuss another possibility if we wanted to get a sense from the board, because the committee at town meeting, the building was transferred over to the town. So I think, the committee's intent from taking that vote was to support staff and reduce that money in our budget, but as I mentioned, we are able to we developed a plan in the event that the insurance comes in higher, and it would help to keep some staff there, where we would keep our business office, HR, and our out-of-school time in the old high school building, if that helps with the insurance. So I believe we don't have that number quite yet from the insurance company, but, it gets tough with our timeline running up against the start of the school year to coordinate a move. So I think, just what the thoughts of the board are for the, I think that would help inform the committee's decision for final action on.
Yeah, I'm only gonna speak for myself, but I think it's just the big unknown, right? If it helps, if we still have you there and saves the entire town money, then we need to at least consider that. But if it doesn't matter anyway, then it doesn't, so that's the big unknown, right?
Right.
I think we were all a little surprised it happened without time to properly plan the budget that way, but I think that was a miscommunication between the boards. I think you guys had been talking about it, but it just didn't get bubbled up correctly, so. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions, or, Steve?
How about the feasibility of starting to move stuff from the annex if we need to save the insurance costs, and we're not
You
keeping up
mean
with the annex?
stuff or
The
people?
people, the offices there.
I don't know.
All right.
It's kind
I'm
of
just
an
wondering if there's an area that would be easily utilized to get offices in there, that's all. Get people in it right in. Guidance or whatever could probably be building and et cetera.
I'm kind of waiting for the insurance company to, they're supposed to come down and take a look at the building and what's being occupied now and what they consider 31% being occupied. It may not be enough even if we put
Yeah.
town hall and the annex over there. It may be, I just don't know. I'm hoping next week we can get some better answers from the insurance company.
All right, so we don't have enough information.
We still use the building for elections too, right?
Yes, that was noted in the letter as
You know,
well.
the gymnasium's being used. I mean, I've been getting calls from youth athletics. I believe Little League's trying to get in front of us right now to resolve some issues that they're coming across. Again, the public is saying that we need to keep this building, and I think if the school committee, the selectmen have a control over it, and that's kind of what's hurting your budget, the selectmen having control over the building, but if we could come up with something and say, okay, this is what your cost to keep your offices there is going to be, so you wouldn't have to worry about running the whole facility. If we're going to use it for other uses in town, maybe we could keep you there as a tenant. We just ran into the situation at the annex with a pretty substantial planning board public meeting where we couldn't hold the meeting. In fact, not only the planning board staff's got to come in tomorrow, all the residents that came down on the subdivision have to come in tomorrow. I mean, they were talking about putting it down in the gymnasium in the annex, and then we were told that we can't live stream out of the gymnasium in the annex. I don't even know if it's handicap accessible. I don't, does the AC work down there? And I guess we've moved it to the library, but what's the capacity of the
Does
library?
this have anything to do
Yes,
with
it
the
does, 'cause
school
of the use of the
occupied-
building.
I'm not talking
Is-
about the use, I'm asking a question to
Yes.
you. Does this have anything to do with the
Yes.
correspondence from the school committee about vacating the building?
Yes.
Because nobody's talking about.
Because the correspondent vacating the building, that's right. We would like to keep them there if we could as a tenant. We have an annex that we just had a meeting, and we couldn't hold the meeting.
I totally understand that you'd like to keep them as a tenant. That makes perfect sense. I don't understand other meetings. It's really.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe use the
Madam Chair.
library there, is that what you're saying?
No, I don't
No, I'm
care.
saying-
Well, what's the capacity of the library? Could I get that answer?
At the old high school? Is that
No,
what
at the new high school.
that's
I'm
not-
just worried about having another meeting tomorrow when all the volunteers on the planning board.
I totally get it.
will
You
there.
wanna
We
be able to
can't-
have
We have
location.
that one closed down. We got a facility that can,
I thought you
We're
were
not
tying it
discussing
into
closing the
old school.
building,
I know.
but I do appreciate the part about if we need to keep them as a tenant, because it's possible that it's financially better for us to even supplement their budget. If it's really like this, maybe we do transfer 90 grand to them, so they're even, they still doesn't help them with their staffing issue, but it might come out better in the long run to do that, like exactly what you're saying, to keep them as a tenant. That is absolutely,
Well, I think I had heard that they had costs on repairing heating systems and stuff that they can't absorb in their budget. You know, I mean, is that true? There was some costs associated with maintaining the building that. How are you supposed to do that when your budget's?
Yeah. Jim, contact me on that too, please.
actually, Jim, can you talk about what you've already discussed on the utilities and the maintenance?
Yeah, so it's my understanding the school department is going to continue to oversee the building, right? So they would have their maintenance staff go through the building on a daily basis, make sure the heating is working and, you know, pipes are flowing and that there's no issues. They're also going to use the fields for their athletic events. They were going to, anybody that was going to use the gym and so forth was going to go through the school department. So they would kind of manage the building. We would just end up picking up some of the additional costs.
So they account for that. Did you have more questions along that line?
Madam Chair, just if I could, just to address the use of facilities for athletics. So regardless of whether the school department stays in the building or leaves, I spoke to our business office staff and we plan on continuing to maintain the use of facilities for the gym, for the basketball league, and also the fields, both for Westport schools and for other leagues that use those. And it would also be possible to hold elections in that building as well. So that would be, that wouldn't change under, you know, if the committee decided to go that way. But to the point that was raised on the 90,000, you know, even if there was some flexibility on the utility costs, whatever it is, you know, I know the committee's in like all the town departments are in a difficult position with their budgets, but if there was, you know, consideration for any assistance with the utility costs, I think that would be appreciated by the committee.
So to clarify, one of the items that we looked at as an option was to mothball the building or sell the building. We have now taken both off the table for the time being, which then, following up on Manny's point, what about redeploying some of the space that, and the inadequacies of the space at the annex to put some of those departments and/or functions at the old high school? I mean, again, I'm going to repeat what I said at the last meeting. The annex is horrible in terms of customer service. It's technically handicapped accessible, but functionally and practically it's not.
Well, we tasked the long-term building committee, well, we asked, when long-term building committees recommended that we keep the building, right?
Yep.
And so we need to charge the long-term building committee, we need to specifically charge them with, okay, we told them we wanted directionally them to go to explore that moving into the building, right? And we wanted them to do that. And to tell us what they need to do that, right? Do they need money for a consultant? Do they, like, what do they need in order to figure out how to do that work, right? So, but tonight, we're not talking about that, so I don't know, you're on the long-term building committee, are you also on the long-term
Yes.
building? So I don't know if you guys, I think you lost your chair, because we did not reappoint Mr. Thrasher.
And we haven't met since then.
Yeah, so, I think we would need the long-term building committee to come back on what to do that.
It'd be nice if we could get offices from where the main office was down to guidance. That seems to be an area that you would, I haven't been there in a couple of years, that it would be easily transferable over. And I thought you were gonna relate to, using the library there for meetings, which would make sense, because
Well,
we need to get airflow in
I
there.
tried saying that in the meeting at the annex, and that's when they were pushing to go into the basement and the gym, but then they said they had to run that by Dana, because they weren't sure what was going on, if it was being used.
Yeah.
And then I guess, you know, because when we did have that walkthrough in the building, they said it was plug and go, and we could pretty much set up and run a meeting out of there. The Board of Health's been using the cafeteria for clinics. If you look at the nurses' station, it's perfect. You get the building department, you move the building department in there, and Ralph can facilitate moving the rest of the offices in the annex over there. And I mean, just the money we've spent on the annex this year would cover maintenance costs that we had at the high school.
I think the
You know,
one.
and all these things were discussed in the long-term building committee meetings, but it just doesn't seem to get here.
Well, the one-time use I don't have a problem with the one-time use things, the occasional use, the occasional meeting, the occasional using the gym. We still have a study that tells us if we move the town offices, that we have to do significant renovation to the building. And until somebody can show me something that says, no, actually, we can just like move furniture and move them over there, we're in receipt of a report that says we need to significantly renovate the building before we can just move the town hall over there. So
Well,
we need
and-
the plan for how to make that happen.
Madam Chair, the plan to make that happen was to move the building inspector in there, and the building inspector could facilitate all of that. We've never abandoned the building, and the town, and the offices from the school department are still there. We just walked out of the building, the rest of the school stuff. We've had these meetings. That annex, it's the exact way we moved into the annex, except this building has
I'm in
better
receipt of it.
bones.
We have a report that told us that it triggers a change of use and we have to comply with modern building codes. Now, if somebody can come in and say, no, and this is what you're saying, the building inspector can come in and
Building
say,
inspector can say that.
we don't have to comply with ADA, we don't have to comply with modern fire codes, we don't have to have the accessibility. If somebody says, no, we don't have to do any of that, then sure, let's put a plan together for what is it gonna cost to move people over, and let's put the plan together. But the last I saw, a professional evaluated the building and said it would trigger a change of use. And so I really I would love it if somebody could deliver a report that says it's not a change of use and we can just move people.
That's what I know.
So let's find out. So I'm hoping that the long-term building committee can help us get the right person to give that report to tell us that. Mr. Thrasher joins the audience.
Yes, indeed. So I was listening on the way over here. Did want to make one point, Madam Chair. I am still the chair of the Long-Term Building Committee. My term was actually a 3-year term as an at-large member, not as a
Oh, not the
finance
same
committee.
Okay, sorry, my
So-
apologies.
Yeah, no worries. So I guess the question that I would have for the select board is, what is the charge going to be of the long-term building committee going forward? And that was kind of the point of the presentation at the last meeting, to determine what steps the select board would like the committee to take at this point. So I would ask that at some point in time in the near future, that be put on as an action item
Yeah, no,
for the
I would
board.
suggest we do
completely
a
agree.
walkthrough before we have them in.
I completely agree that we need to have that as an action item. But tonight, the discussion is about the school committee's intended use of the building and how we might be coordinating that. But I absolutely, as we said at the meeting you were here, we need to formally charge you with what exactly we want you to do so that you're able to go off and do that. And I agree.
So, Madam Chair, can we table that for a few minutes, since we don't have a lot on our agenda, and under the liaisons for the committees, continue this discussion? I understand that we're here for the school committee right now, but could we continue this discussion?
I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna talk about.
I think we should do exactly what I just said, do a walkthrough and see what we think's feasible, what looks realistic. The area I just talked about, if you guys didn't go to Westport High, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about. When you go in, the offices down to guidance was an area where there was a lot of little offices.
Yeah.
I think we should walk through, see what looks feasible, talk to Ralph, see maybe there's a number that triggers it, that we could go under to utilize it. A couple offices, like Manny says, maybe the building inspector, even planning or something there. Let's go look at the possibilities, but first we need to go look at it.
Steve, did you go, were you on?
I went to Westport High.
No, I know you.
Oh, sorry.
Did you go to the walkthrough that we had?
No, we weren't invited.
But your
It
wife
just-
was there, and
Right.
she brought us through it, and I was really impressed.
Yeah.
And I really think the rest of the board should go there, and I think Jimmy was there, but the rest of the board should go there.
Oh,
I've been there
yeah.
plenty of times. I'm fine with reusing the building. We need a
Right.
plan. Like I said, we have a report that says it needs extensive renovation. If
Well,
we
I-
don't actually need that, that's a very
If you
different
ha-
story.
I disagree with the report.
I think it'd be better if we had a vision to walk through and say, hey, I'll give you my ideas as soon as we walk through. Hey, we can do this there, let's look at the library, see if there's not mold or something growing by now, because nobody's using it, and it's rug and books and wood. So, yeah,
I agree
through
with
the
that
chair.
as well, but would want to make sure our building inspector is with us. So he's part of the discussion, and we don't just have to repeat what we discussed amongst ourselves with the building inspector.
So Madam Chair, can we just have Jim work out a day, send us an email that we're all available
Post
at
it.
4 or 5 o'clock, yeah, and see if, what day Ralph can make it?
Do you have any comments about that, Mr. Thrasher?
I think it'd be great to have another walkthrough. I will say that there is indeed a report on file. I have had many conversations with individuals and architects, a couple architects who disagree with that report. So that's not to say, you know, that's certainly not my area of expertise, and I'll defer to experts, although I will say it probably would be worth getting more than one opinion on that. I do think it was certainly my visual impression of the facility is certainly the library would actually work very well for a setup with multiple offices or multiple, a cubicle style workspace. And I feel like that might be possibly the first step in terms of moving offices over quickly. So I know that the discussion earlier, when talking about the change or the use percentage of the building as it is right now, and the concern that even if there was no change in the school committee's or school department's usage, that the building would still not meet that standard that the insurance company has. So just kind of getting back to what the discussion with the school committee here. I know Mr. Gingerlo, Chair, definitely just mentioned that our timeline is running short here for the school committee and the school department. So I do have a question of the select board as to how quickly either, if we're just waiting on the insurance company or trying to figure out, you had mentioned possibly finding $90,000 to help supplement the school committee's budget. I'm just wondering what kind of timeline that any of that can be acted on, because the crunch is real getting ready for the school year at this point.
So
So
we couldn't supplement your budget, but we could direct some of that town meeting warrant article money that we would spend for that. We could do that, right? So it's not exactly giving the school committee money. It's like, okay, we pay this bill from that warrant article, right? But do you have an appointment with the insurance company yet?
I sent them the information at the beginning of last week. I'm waiting to hear back. I was hoping to hear back Friday, hoping to hear back today, so any day.
Because really, I think the question is, does it make a difference in the cost of the insuring the building or the ability to insure the building, whether you stay there or not? Because I don't know if you heard at the beginning, you might not have enough of a presence there for it to matter anyway. And then it's moot whether you do one way or the other. I think it only really comes into effect if they say, oh, if, I don't know how many people you have over there, but if the 20 people that you have over there stay, then our insurance $100,000 less, then we would need to talk to you, right? But I think we have to assume you're leaving as discussed, and you've negotiated the ability to use the fields and use the courts, right? Or to help facilitate that. It sounds like that the only real thing is how much is it going to cost us, and it sounds like we have a plan for that. So,
And the schools are getting the funding now for the rentals, right? Is that going back to the general or the schools again?
Yeah, I think it was only like $6,000 or $7,000.
Yeah, I
and
think
then
it
it's
is, but it's still
primarily
a supplementary to
custodial.
them.
Yeah, but you're probably covering custodial and
And
utility
administration.
and administration
Yeah,
for that.
just-
Yeah.
Plus, you
making
can
sure.
expand on some of the after-day school program. I mean, there's a need out there for that stuff. That can be expanded there.
Right. But from what I recall, the lower level is not handicap accessible at all. The bathrooms still have the separate cold and hot from the 50s. I'm sure that wouldn't meet code, but the first level, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that would be an issue, and Ralph can point that out to us and see how feasible it is.
All right, so how about, let's do this. So on the August 12 meeting, let's put the long-term building committee on the agenda, and that'll include charging them specifically with what we want to do. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be super close to evaluate our options for moving the building and using them for town purposes, right? I think that's going to be the charge, but we'll have to discuss it.
We're gonna walk through.
And
before that,
then
right?
also, preferably before the 12th of August, Jim is going to coordinate with, I think you should coordinate with our board and the
Long-term.
long-term building committee. And we can invite the school committee if they want, but to tour the building and walk through it.
Makes sense to me.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
could we also add to that we invite the building inspector And during our talks on the building committee, we'd also reached out to a couple of building inspectors in Fall River, who, one of them actually lives in town, that would be willing to come in because they deal with this type of building more than Ralph does.
Yeah.
Ralph's mostly residential. That would also possibly come to us during that meeting. We could discuss these things as we walk through the building.
The
what they
walkthrough.
saw.
I don't know how you guys feel about that. It sounds like a good idea to me, but.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
That's fine.
All right, so you want to let Jim know who you're talking about, and we could invite them? Are you okay with that?
I mean, actually, we can have Ralph knows him too, so we can talk with Ralph and see what he thinks.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, I want to come back to the insurance question. For Jim, you have questions? Jim, on this, I just want to be clear. We talk about the insurance company. Who are we talking about? Are we talking about MIA?
Yes, yes.
That's our insurance company at the moment. They are a captive insurance organization that handles municipalities. But who is our broker? Do we have a broker, or do they double as a broker to go out into the market to
We
get?
deal directly with them.
Yeah, I know, but suppose we want to have alternative quotes for insurance. Do we have a broker who can do that for us? And do they handle such?
They will handle that. So he's going to go out and get quotes from, I guess, independent insurance companies and get back to us.
Yeah, because, I was in this business for 43 years, and it's funny the way these things often go. But when you go out and get other quotes, all of a sudden, the dynamics change. And people say, well, let's reconsider. Well, maybe we can find a way, or maybe we can do it for a price, or maybe have an increased deductible, whatever. But if we do that puts some pressure on our MIAA, who is the provider at the moment. And they're in a little bit of a conflict, though, because if they're representing us, then they're going out and getting quotes. That's sort of like it's not in their best interest necessarily. I mean, I don't know how that really works, because I haven't run into one of these before. I know what captive insurance companies are, I know what insurance companies are, and I know what agents and brokers are. This seems to be sort of a hybrid, and I'm just wondering, is there anybody out there right now, maybe you've answered it already, that's aggressively seeking alternative quotes for us? Now, even if the price is unacceptable.
Only through the MIAA.
Yeah.
Could look elsewhere, though. I didn't, to be honest with you, I hadn't thought about that, so that's something.
Yeah, because some of these brokers, the big ones, the Marsh and McLennans of the world and others, and I'm not lobbying for any of them, they have enormous resources, and they have hundreds of companies they do business with, standard companies, non-standard companies, Lloyd's of London, reinsurance companies. I mean, there are a lot of those people can bring a lot of firepower to the table, but it could also open up opportunities for us. So I wouldn't want to lose sight of that. And if you want me to be part of that process, I'd be glad to.
That would be great.
I was just going to ask you if you could help advise Jim on that.
Yep.
Okay, we'll talk.
Okay.
And thank you very much, Dick, because that's how that industry works.
Yeah.
One of my other concerns would be like the buildings the other buildings that we're insuring. You're worrying about insuring that building. When they look at the annex, I mean, we're going through this right now. Everybody's a property owner here. You know what's happening with your house insurance, and they're calling up and like when you I have some different real estate, and if they'll look at the roof and they'll say, we can't insure you. We're going to drop you. I mean, if anybody looked at the annex, and you got a non-compliant septic. We just lost the well. You got a daycare in the basement. It backed up twice last year, sewage into the basement. You're talking about the facilities at the old high school. Look at the facilities in that basement that we get over there. I mean, if you're looking at, that's a reason why we're not moving into the new high school. We got bigger problems than what we're using right now.
All right, so I think we have a plan for some next steps regarding so I think the school committee, you just need to do your thing that you're planning on. I don't think we've heard anything that we're going to get any news that would just say change whatever you're already planned. So thank you for continuing to work with us on that.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on this topic we should cover before we move on?
Well, I'd like to just add one more thing on it. The school committee's feeling is if we could make it work, you'd prefer to stay there, wouldn't you?
Not sure if it's a preference to stay there, but we're certainly willing to, if our presence there is assisting with the increased costs, then the committee, I think, is open to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything
Thank you.
else? Anything else? Go ahead.
I was just going to, just to augment what Chairman Gendreau said there, I think that the committee has decided there are certain positions who are currently located in the old high school that are going to move to the middle high school, and one to the Macomber as well, or just student-facing, so at least one to the Macomber, I believe, right? Or, in any case, basically, student-facing and academic-oriented administrative positions are going to be moving to better assist the staff at the schools. But as far as the business department and the IT and whatnot, that's still on the table to perhaps leave.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the town water billing update. Jim? So just super quick background for those who've not been following this. We have an agreement with the city of Fall River to purchase water from them that we then resell to about 100 homes in the north side of town. The number several years ago, which I'm sure Jim could tell us exactly, several years ago, we were in dispute with the amount of the bill between the city and the town. At some point after that, we installed different meters, we were back on track, but there's a period of time where there is a dispute between what Fall River is saying that we owe them for water and what we think we owe them for water. So all of the current stuff is aligned, but this is kind of trying to wrap up that final part of the agreement. So you want to tell us where we are?
Yes, so in general, I've been meeting with Paul Ferlin over at the Department of Community Utilities over in Fall River for probably about a year and a half now. Going back and forth with spreadsheets, numbers, reviewing the billing. We have not been able to reach an agreement as to what I think we owe and what he thinks we owe. So about 3 weeks ago, city administrator became involved. We sat with him on 2 different occasions. In general, the original bill was up around $1.7 million. I think they're down to about $650,000 at this point. And I think that the town owes anywhere from 0 up to maybe $150,000, $200,000. So what happens is, just a brief explanation, is the water comes from Fall River. At the town line, they have a meter, and they read it on a monthly basis. We have 3 blow-off meters, and then we have our customers. So we blow off a significant amount of water on a monthly basis, and in the summer we blow off more to keep the contaminant levels in the water lines low, because we just do not have a lot of users yet. So there's an agreement with Fall River that we should not be getting billed for the water that we blow off. And if that's the case, then like over the last 3 years, as we've been monitoring it better, we have a difference of about anywhere from 3 to 6% roughly in difference between what they meter in Fall River and what we charge our users, which is actually very good. You could have a small leak, you could have somebody whose meter isn't working properly. So over the last 30 months, we've been on it, we've been reconciling on a monthly basis, and we're good. It's my position or my feeling that we should be paying close to what the customers use, because the only other place where that water could go, unless we had a leak and we didn't have any reported leaks, and this is a period from 2016 halfway into fiscal year 22, so you're looking at a 6-7 year period of 6 year period of time. If you use those numbers we're pretty close to we're pretty much paid up. Fall River's looking at it this way. They're saying, listen, we have a meter in Fall River right on the line. We don't know where the water goes. It wasn't regulated properly. Maybe your meters at the blow-offs were too small and not recording the blow-offs properly. There was some reconciliation issues between both Westport and Fall River. So there's a number of different things that could cause the discrepancy. But it's their position at this point right now that based on the readings from Fall River and the readings that Westport gave to Fall River on the blow-off meters over those 6 years, we would owe them roughly $650,000, $675,000. So we're still working with them. I just wanted to update the board. They seem willing to work with us. We just haven't reached an agreement yet.
Thank you. I know you had a lot of questions.
So we do have the number of what we billed to customers and what we got paid.
Yes.
And that's in our favor, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think, could we move forward with something like that? Let's say, listen, this is what we billed the customers, this is what we got paid, this is what we used, and whatever the difference, you know, see how quickly we can get them paid, and put this behind us?
It's kind of what I offered, and if we go directly by that, we really don't owe them anything.
I think we need to kind of move forward in that direction, try to get this done.
That's what I've been pushing. I mean, there's fault both, right? There's fault with Fall River, and there's some fault with Westport. The stuff should have been reconciled years ago. I think Fall River was it was easy for them to just say, we'll just keep billing you. You guys work it
yeah,
out.
and they were doing interest.
Yes.
All that other stuff, so, and I mean, it's kind of like with us too, if somebody doesn't pay their taxes, we charge them interest, and we want to get paid that. So, I mean, they're kind of, if they're going to waive that, I mean, that's big. If we can come to a number that's an agreement, and just, let's stop going back and forth, and let's put this down. I mean, then we just put out the Macumber Loop to bid, right? So we're looking to buy more water from them. I mean, they need customers too. So, you know, maybe we can get this in the negotiation.
So it's
We'll
not
have
like,
to talk about it next year.
it's not like Jim has been negotiating, so do you have a recommendation for a different approach?
I've been involved in it since the beginning, Madam Chair, okay? When
I know, but
first-
you said,
when I
you said
first-
come to agreement,
when
he's telling you they're
When I
not
first
in
sat on the
agreement.
planning board, and we developed the infrastructure oversight committee, I was involved in it then. I wasn't a selectman at the time, and I notified Mr. Willett about that at that point. So we're talking 4 years we've been involved in
I'm
this.
just
That's why I'm saying,
asking you if you
if
have
we
a
can get it,
recommendation
oh, let's
for
get
him.
it done. I just made that recommendation. If we-
Get it done is not a recommendation, they're 300.
No, the recommendation
That's the
is,
part.
okay, this is what the number is, make the offer, put it in writing, and let's say, if they refuse it, then we know where we're going. It's not, oh, we're in this meeting, we're not meeting. I mean, I was at the meeting before. I mean, nobody told me about this last meeting. I mean, I would like to have been president of that meeting. Maybe I could help and give some insight in it. So,
Has
I
there
mean, it's been a
any
long time
written-
coming.
Have there been any
It's
written?
not a rumor.
We've not had any written response. I've sent correspondence based on what I think we owe and some documentation as to why. I have not received anything written yet from Fall River.
So it sounds like, meaning what you're suggesting is a more formal, this is the offer on the table, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, the meeting that I was at was pretty formal, was it not, Jim?
Yeah, we had quite a group there.
All right. Steve, you were at that
We
meeting?
were all at, yeah.
Yes, it was pretty formal.
I thought you went.
And I thought the mayor had given us, you know, a couple of weeks to get this resolved. And we're like months after this. I'm just asking why it's not resolved, that's all. And if it's their fault or whatever, but, I mean, I wasn't president at this last meeting, so I don't know.
I wasn't either. Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about. Oh, yeah, could we just find that out? I mean, and there are other circumstances, Jim, like the fire department uses it, and there was a construction company they caught using it without a meter or something. So there are some things on our end that weren't, before you got here.
Yeah.
That was some weird circumstances that we probably owe something for. So, yeah, he's probably right. Let's put something together, because,
Oh, and I think another thing too is we got blow-off meters that they're blowing them off in pits.
yeah.
But, you know, I've noticed Route 6 being blown off, that's not in a pit, so we might have had usage that way too.
Flushing, yeah. All right.
Was it clear to you on your next step here?
So, not quite sure. I think there's a few things that we need to do, right, or that we'd like to get from Fall River. We'd like to get this resolved, right? We'd like to get a new agreement with Fall River. Freetown and Tiverton are paying 15% less on the rates than Westport is. So we'd like to get the same rates that they're doing now. We'd also like to get, they put a limit on these other agreements, so right now we get anywhere from, we use 26,000 to about 29,000 cubic feet per year. And then what they do after a certain amount, instead of charging us 70% over the water rates from Fall River, they only charge 5% over the water rates after this certain amount. So we'd like to get that in the agreement as well. They've also questioned the water line extension, whether or not they have approved that. I think they're okay with that. We're still, under our current agreement, we're allowed 100,000 gallons a day, which is about 50,000 CCF a year. We're only using 26 to 29, so I believe we're okay under the current agreement. I don't think they're looking to stop us. They realize the benefits of it. So I think they're in favor of that, but it would be nice to get that. We've been trying for a long time to get that in writing.
So it sounds like, Manny, you thought you were on the negotiating team here, from before, right? And it sounds like you would like to be involved in the negotiation with Jim, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but,
Yes.
okay, so can you include,
We can set up another meeting and include Mr. Solis.
okay. Anything else on that one?
No, just that he's right, we should make amends, because if we want to extend it, they're not gonna sign until they already said they're not
Well,
gonna
I'm
sign.
sure they
until
would be
we pay it
happy
off.
to take $675,000 from us right now. I mean, I'm sure that would be
They would have been happy to
favorable
take the
them.
1 million something with interest. But,
1.7,
you know,
yeah.
like, again, like I said, when people owe you money and you don't pay, you're charging interest.
All right.
So it gives us a reason why we need to just not kick the can down the road.
All right, so.
Yeah, and just to be, we've been pushing.
Oh, I know.
Town's been pushing right along, yeah. We've been
It's
really trying to get this
Well,
resolved.
like you say before you got here, he did mention it 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and our previous administrator didn't move forward.
Okay, anything else on that? The town administrator report.
Just a couple of updates. East Beach Road, we talked about earlier, has been paved. The Highway Department did a nice job with that. They did much of the work themselves, and they subbed out the paving. It actually came out very nice. We've had a couple of complaints about speeding now. The chief put down, he had some patrols down there over the weekend monitoring the speeding, and he'll do that on occasion when he can and when the staff is available. Requests for proposals, we sent 3 requests out last week, one for inspectional services for the Macumber Loop water line. Those are due, it says August 5th here, but that's changed to August 8th. Cemetery management system, we put out a request for proposals. The website that we're currently using now was done by volunteers through, and I think it was paid at the time by CPC, so they've been kind of updating that and monitoring it.
Really?
It's outdated, the software isn't being updated anymore or being supported, so we need to go out for a new system. Just on that too, we have preliminary design plans of the next 2 sections in the cemetery that have been completed, so those should be, final design should be completed in the next month or so. American Legion Building, this is Tony Vieira's been working on this project, but we put the proposals out last week with bid openings due August 15th. That's for siding, new back deck. They have a handicap chairlift that was donated. They're going to do some decks, and the Highway Department was over there last week doing some regrading around the building. So there's quite a bit of work to be done, or that will be done if this proposal goes through. Macumber Neighborhood Sewer Design, I just wanted to update the board. Probably at about 50% design right now, maybe a little bit more. I'd suggest that we've gone this far, we might as well finish it up to the 100% design. I don't know if we have to go out for the bidding assistance and project administration costs, so we might be able to reduce their contract a little bit if the board is okay with that. We would still have the 100% design, but we still got some work before the sewer or water gets up to that area.
Yeah, Jim, on that, well, like, you know, that's a great idea. We get the design, and then maybe we can look for some grants. We don't have to, you know, we can pursue the grants.
Yeah, the design's good. What about the amendment to remove the bidding assistant and the project admin? How do we
That's
feel
fine.
about that?
Okay.
I mean, you're still gonna have the project admin for the Macumber Loop for the water. That's what you just put out for an RFP, so
Yep.
that's fine.
Route 6 pump station easements, I've had conversations with the 2 property owners in that first section, 35 State Road and was it 287 State Road. There was a concern with 35 State Road. They're pretty much, I don't want to say they're pretty much, I believe they're in favor of the land takings, but they did mention, and we ran into this when we were looking at betterments early on, there's only 2 ways you can do it according to the law, the unit method, and there's another method by using frontage. And it doesn't account for people that are already tied in. So the question was, because their business and hotel are already tied into the sewer, if we put a pump station in and eventually put sewer in front of their property, why would they have to pay an additional betterment if their property's not being bettered at that time? The only way around that would be to do special legislation, which a number of communities do, and you can kind of change the betterment formula to address unique situations like this.
So that's, when you mean special legislation, the selectmen could work that out.
Yes.
So, yeah, I would say that's a plus. I mean, this is the company that bring the sewer into town already, and they have capacity in the line that we're replacing that's for the whole north end, so And they have existing capacity that could be used for the commercial right now, but because we moved forward with designing for the residents out that way, yeah, I mean, I would definitely push that the select board do any kind of legislation for that company that already bring the sewer in and is gonna give us, that could be put into their easement possibly, so that they wouldn't have any cost to that. I could definitely agree with that.
And I don't think we have to.
I don't have any problem with the concept. The concept is fine. I just want to, the special legislation has to be a request from town meeting to the state, right? This is not select board.
It's a good question. You know, some of the sewer
I don't
stuff
think-
is
yeah, I
exempt
don't
from
think
town
it's
meeting, but
direct-
it probably
yeah.
does.
Yeah.
What the property owner was looking for was just a willingness from the select board to consider it and look into it.
It makes a lot of sense to me. But I just think from a practical way, I think it would, if it is special legislation, I'm pretty sure it would have to be town meeting to authorize us to ask the legislature. I don't think we could just draft it.
Well, can we-
But I think we would,
Draft it for
we
them,
would,
yeah.
yeah. I
Madam
think
Chair,
we
can
would.
we ask town council for this? This is kind of
Yeah,
significant.
we can.
Yeah. The other two easements, the appraisals, he was on site last week for the other two easements in the other section. The appraiser met with one of the property owners who was not in favor. I received a call last week of the easement being taken, and she indicated that she was going to oppose it. So we may want to consider that. Once we get the appraisals in, we can take a look and go forward with that. The board had recommended that we at least go forward with the appraisals at this point, and I don't think we made any other
No,
decisions based on.
and I got calls from 3 of the 4 pump station locations. And I think that's what we need to do is, once we have the appraisals, get them involved in what the process actually is, so they can understand.
Town Hall Annex well, the 24-hour pump test was completed last weekend. It went well. That paperwork was submitted this week, was submitted Friday. So far, the tests have come back good. The water quality is good. It has some iron and manganese, similar to most wells here in town, but overall, the pump test was good, and the water quality has been coming in good. So we hope to get approval from the state within the next month or two. Westport Housing Authority, I met with Paul DeMuschel. He's Attleboro Housing Authority. They've taken over management of the Westport Housing Authority property. Somerset was doing it for years. Somerset is out at this point, and Attleboro has taken that over. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Old high school insurance, we've discussed that, so that's it. Well, just one more thing, over the Hicks Bridge Landing. Our exit runs over the abutting property. They were concerned about liability. We're trying to work out a license agreement now that would cover the liability so that people can exit that way, but we don't have a final agreement yet. It would have to come before the board as well. So right now, they've kind of closed that off until we can get that done.
I thought we had something. We don't have anything on file with that? Maybe it was just a quote-unquote gentleman's agreement, because that came up years ago.
If you,
Okay.
So we're not able to use that any longer? They got it blocked off on us?
right now, they have it blocked off.
Because they're working on a new design, and that we're
Yeah.
looking to
Yes.
utilize that area too,
And,
right?
and they've been in favor of the town acquiring an easement over that property, but until that can be done, we had looked at a possible license agreement so that we could kind of accept liability, at least provide liability insurance through the town for our use. But we haven't reached that agreement yet.
I did see that plan has been before, didn't it come
For the
before
plan?
us too, right?
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was in the works a long
Yeah.
time.
That's it,
All
that's
right,
all I
thank you,
have.
Jim. Minutes for June 17?
I reviewed them, they're fine.
Moving them?
What?
You moving them?
Oh, yeah, I move the approval of the minutes of
Second.
17.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Report on the bill warrant.
Okay, Madam Chair, there are no bill warrants in the package, and there was a reason for that, because we had to redo some of this. There was an error made, not in the individual items, but in the totals. And this emanated from the fact that there were 2 piles of warrants that needed to be reviewed this time. It's year-end, so there was a sheet for year-end '24 fiscal year, $800,000. That was fairly cut and dried. But then we've got big bills in for for July, for the first month of fiscal year '25, and they totaled to $6 million. But the numbers simply didn't add up, but the individual items were all okay. It was just doing that, and Joanne in the accounting office was to produce a new document. I mean, I actually had to come in back the next day to sign it, but it didn't get to you, Paula, I guess. But anyway, everything was in order. There were some interesting parts to it, though, because of the beginning of the fiscal year. We had big items such as the Bristol County Retirement Fund. Contribution to that was $3.5 million. It's a once-a-year thing, I guess. And there were some other ones. Here's one that'll get everybody's interest. Property insurance, $519,000. So we have to work on that. There was debt retirement in there for the fire station, the school, and the Westport Elementary School roof, $476,000. Employee benefits of a miscellaneous kind, $489,000. And school payroll was $684,000. So it was a big month. It was busy. We got it done, so I regret we don't have these for you to look at, but trust me, they now are correct and done.
Thank you.
Next time I'm going to call you.
All right, liaison reports, we'll start with you.
Pretty much, we covered most of the stuff I was on, other than the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. I mean, Jim, I guess the water main loop went out to bid, and bids are due when?
Middle of August, I believe.
And then the other thing was just on the Select Board. I mean, the Select Board did vote to move Bob Daler and myself to remain on the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. And then we did have that meeting where we were at capacity in the town hall, and we had to postpone it till tomorrow.
Did you move it to, where did you move it to?
Well, it's moved to the library
The library?
at the new high school.
Not,
Which that's why I was asking what the capacity of that was.
wait, the library at the,
New high school.
oh, the new high school library, not the Westport Public Library. Oh.
Sure it's not the,
Yeah, the Westport Public Library.
we're at Westport Public Library,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Also, it's the public.
It's at the town public library,
at
in the
the new high
mansion, the mansion room at the town public library.
What's the capacity on that?
I don't know, it's
They
pretty
got
big,
three
though. When they
sections. It's
open up
pretty big when you
a couple
open
of
it.
sections, you should have.
Yeah, because I had 3 different meetings there a couple of weeks ago, and they were each in a different room.
Well, that was the problem there, was we were at capacity in our room, and we tried moving them in, some people into where we could stream into another room, and we couldn't get them to move.
So that's happened here before. We had to have them down the hall.
All right, anything else for this? Okay. Steve?
No, but we had fun at the fair this week, didn't we? They must have made some nice money because the weather cooperated. We had a Serpent meeting. Jim Whiten is like second in charge now, so he ran that. So Westport's kind of dominating Serpent, which is a good thing for us. We'll get more stuff done. I have had some calls, even though it doesn't pertain to us. It's more police department on fireworks still lasting forever, like they were going off to whatever, 10 o'clock last night. So if people would just have some consideration for their neighbors, we're way past 4th of July. I hate to mention it because it'll probably make it worse tonight. They'll probably go till midnight, but it is concerns for seniors that are in bed at 8 o'clock and getting shaken out of bed in the middle of the night, especially in the north end up near us.
I wonder what the Venn diagram is of the people who might be tuned into this meeting who
I
are
know.
also setting
Hey,
off fireworks.
you
at
just
10
had
o'clock
somebody
tonight.
on here from home, so it's out there. But yeah, just if people could have a little consideration for their neighbors. There's really seems to be a lot more big mortars this year, and it's been really
Yeah.
dry lately. So people are seriously a little concerned with their property and their roofs with this dryness. Otherwise than that, I know our public safety, the calls are still out a lot. Well, maybe we could have each meeting how many calls are going on, because it's been crazy, and it doesn't seem to be calming down. So, we appreciate it. Everything they do for the town, between highway and public safety, we've been really jamming.
I had asked I talked to the Chief Dunn not that long ago about coming before the board occasionally, like maybe twice a year, because I think they have some really good numbers to tell us, and he seems a lot more willing than maybe the former chief didn't really love coming to see us.
No, you just got to be careful, because we'll get swamped, because every neighborhood right now wants people to slow down, so.
Everybody
It's
slow
bad,
down.
even down the head where they got so many stuff already there, they still want more, so
Yeah.
it's touchy, it's dangerous out there. Thank
But
you.
they get a lot of calls. I think people don't really appreciate that.
Nope.
Yeah, we do have crime here, unfortunately, and they're busy. There was a Climate Resilience Committee meeting on Thursday. I was not able to attend. They're working on the different subcommittees reporting in. To put together a big proposal. The Internet Advisory Committee didn't meet, but David Cole and Keith Novo were working on, the Massachusetts Broadband Institute had a challenge out where they were looking for residents to, basically, are the cable companies providing the speeds that the residents are actually receiving? And it was very difficult to comply with. I know Keith and David tried really hard to comply with getting like samples of this internet speed.
Drove me
And
nuts too, yeah.
it was the kind of the hoops you had to jump through, because you couldn't just do an internet speed
Screenshot.
test and then take a screenshot. It was more complex than that. So we didn't get a lot of participation. But David and Keith did work pretty hard on it. Keith is finalizing a grant now, right? I think he's finalizing the paperwork for another grant. So we'll see what comes of that, but that's all on my side.
Madam Chair, so
Yeah.
on that internet, on the grants, so what's the status of your Tickle Road project?
I believe that's the grant that the contract just came in from the state to be signed. Not 100% sure. I saw the paperwork today. I didn't read through it.
So, I mean, that's moving forward to construction?
It hasn't started yet, but I'll get it, we'll have a meeting and I'll get an update.
Tickle 177?
I don't know,
Tickle
so
Road and
didn't
then-
we match 50,000 in ARPA money for a grant,
Yeah.
You did.
building broadband down Tickle Road?
Tickle Road.
Oh,
and
For
that's
that
South
loop,
Road.
for that other loop, the western loop.
Are there any residents tied into any of the loops in town now?
No, they're not intended for end users, they're intended to be loops for future. That was all I had.
Madam Chair, just nothing really here to report. I have been attending the meetings of the Landing Commission. We have a meeting tomorrow. The Audit Committee, we talked about. The Council on Aging, I attended their July meeting. Nothing that we need to know about at the present time. And the Bristol County Commissioners, they have their annual meeting to approve the budget in August, so I'll be attending that. It's usually a remote meeting. So there's nothing really to report, but I'm keeping busy.
That Aggie is looking good now with all those new buildings.
Oh, yeah.
Not too thrilled about paying for them, but it looks good.
Craig?
The Affordable Housing Trust has met since the last meeting. We have released an RFP for the Crehab program, which is sort of a residual program that was created under a grant we got a number of years ago from the State Community Development Block Grant Program. And it functions as somewhat of a loan program. We hope to provide up to, we've been doing this all along, and we're going to be, the RFP, I think, is to be issued probably on I think Wednesday or Thursday of this week. The other RFP that we're going to be doing, but we have not released yet, is for potential parcels that could be developed for up to 30 units of affordable housing. We don't know of any sites, because there are rumors about that, but they are not true. But we are looking for proposals from potential developers who might have parcels or are aware of parcels, and be looking at a partner in terms of investment in that. And we do have some set-aside funds from community partnership, CPC funding.
I also just want to bring up, we have had a number of complaints about what people are describing as offensive signs that people have in their yards, using language that your mom wouldn't want you using. But I just want to reiterate, we've looked into this multiple times. Free speech is free speech. People are allowed to put banners and words and signs on their own private property. We do not have any authority to remove those signs. We just don't. And unless they're impeding traffic or causing a public safety hazard, we have no authority to remove those. And I don't like them either. And I know there's one in particular really hurting a local business.
Yeah.
And I really feel for the business because it's not their fault, but there's
Family.
really nothing we can do.
Yeah.
So I know people don't like to hear that, but that is where we are. We don't have anyone from the public here to make a comment or a statement. I do want to remind people that if you've just been newly appointed to a committee, you need to go get sworn in if you haven't done that already. And then if anybody's interested in a vacancy, let us know if you're interested in serving on the committee. I do have a topic that didn't make the agenda because I forgot, Paula. So with the passing of Steve Souza, we lost our cemetery foreman. So I approved Jim posting, we are required, it's in a union position, so we're required to post internally first. So I did approve Jim posting the internal posting. So I don't know, are there any days left on that?
I think we have a couple of days left.
So we have a couple of days on the internal posting. So once that is, if we don't get any do we have any candidates that
We
have?
do have one that's interested, yes. Maybe two, actually, from in-house.
Okay, so we'll proceed with whatever we do. So if we have two internal candidates, then we don't need, we won't be posting outside yet, right? We would
Yep.
just position the two internal candidates first. Okay,
That's correct.
It's 3 weeks, you don't think we need a motion till our next meeting?
a motion for what?
To allow him to post, just because there's such a big gap until our next meeting?
So right now, the existing, one of the employees, because of the union contract, can move up as an interim.
No, I'm just asking if you feel comfortable with it, just because of the gap, if we should vote to allow
Are you
you to
saying,
post.
are you suggesting, do we need a motion to?
To allow Jim to post if necessary, the position,
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
to within the guidelines of 48 hours. All right, I'll do that. Allow Jim to post if necessary, the cemetery position.
Cemetery foreman. Yeah.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. So we've got the internal posting, we'll start that process, and then, if necessary, he can post externally. We do have an executive session, we're gonna come into open session just to adjourn. There won't be any, further business. I do want to just remind people, August 12th is our next meeting, so it's 3 weeks from today. I will entertain a motion pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A. Chair declares an open meeting will have a detrimental effect to A, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, Westport Permanent Firefighters Association, Local 1802, and B, approve minutes of June 17, 2024.
So move, Steve Willett.
Richard Brewer, second.
Can I have a question before we close out?
Yes?
Jim, it wouldn't be possible to vote on that firefighter thing tonight? We're gonna put it off?
That we'd have to put on the regular contract, but we could have a special meeting if need be,
Okay.
if the chair is.
Just because we closed out a couple of others, that's all, and again, the gap. Okay.
All right.
Manny Swas, aye.
Aye, Steve Willett.
Aye, Shawna Tees.
Richard Brewer.
I, Craig Duke.